Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive into left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. November.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. My God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Well, every day it's a new name. Hello, everybody. As I'm recording this one, it's March 20th, so it's actually a couple of days after we got the update on Clarke Schmidt. So that's who we're going to dive into in this show, if you haven't guessed by now. Yeah, you know, it's funny, man. Just a month ago, just 1 month ago, right? Just 1 month ago. Let me say that one more time. Things were going so well. Stroman was like a must trade just for salary reasons alone. Cole was your number one. Fried was your number two. You know, Heel and Rodon 3 and 4, whatever order. And the guy who we're going to talk about in this episode was supposed to be a bonus number 5 starter who, in theory, means he wouldn't have even been a postseason starter because you're so deep. And now we are in a scenario where Clarke Schmidt could very well be your second best starting pitcher this season. And oh, by the way, he's also in jeopardy of going on the shelf. Clarke Schmidt was just recently scratched from a couple of starts. I think he was supposed to start Monday, and then they said, let's hold him out on, he was supposed to start Sunday, and they said, let's hold him out on Monday as well. He had shoulder soreness in his throwing shoulder, which is always good. And so instead of throwing a start on Monday, he threw a bullpen session, I think about 20, 25 pitches. They asked Clarke on how he felt. I feel good. And then they asked who I now call babysitter in chief. They asked Aaron Boone how he felt. And they asked Boone, do you think he'll be ready for his first start of the year? And he goes, I don't know, we'll see. Basically, that's what he said in paraphrase. He did not give you a full yes. AKA, Clarke Schmidt's definitely not making his first start, and there's probably a good chance he could be on the DL in April. So that's where we are. And we'll talk about what the rotation itself could look like without Schmidt. But as I said in this episode, I do want to talk about the importance of Clarke Schmidt if he is healthy this year. Clarke Schmidt, I just wrote an article on BD4blog.com about him, talking about how much of an enigma he is. Because he's entering his 6th major league season this year. And it feels like, I don't know if it's just me, but I always feel like we're waiting forever for Clarke Schmidt to break out. We've been waiting so long. Every year we always wait for him to break out, and it's either injury or it's underperformance. And he's had a solid career. but I've just always been left feeling like there's more there. You know, he's been a number 5, right? He's pitched like a number 5, but I still feel like there's upside there to where he can be a middle of the rotation arm. You know, in his first 3 big league seasons, he was primarily a relief pitcher with the Yankees, got some mixed results, but had trouble staying healthy. And in the last 2 seasons, he's become a starter. Again, some mixed results, and also trouble staying healthy, right? His first year as a starting pitcher in 2023, he was very durable for the Yankees, but he wasn't super productive. You know, he gave them 159 innings. He made 32 starts, but at the same time, he pitched to a 4.64 ERA. And he was just giving up a lot of hard contact, a lot of extra base hits. Struggling to miss bats. Last year comes, and he was the opposite. He was productive, but he wasn't durable, right? He went out and he posted a 2.85 ERA. He got a lot more swing and miss than he had in the past. A lot less hard contact. A lot less extra base hits. However, that was only across 85 1/3 innings, 16 starts, because for about 3 months and change, he missed time with a lat injury. Came back in September, was okay for 5 starts. Playoffs was more of the same. He was okay. Prevented runs, couldn't really go deep. But overall, it was a productive but injury-prone 2024. This season, again, when/if he ever gets right, I want to believe that Clarke Schmidt can still tap into that potential. Again, 2024, small sample. But if you mix what he gave you in 2023 with what he gave you in 2024, that's a win to me. It's a middle of the rotation arm, right? A guy who can pitch to a 3.5, give or take. I think that's what we're looking at here if he's healthy. You know, what I liked most about Clarke Schmidt last year was the underlying traits. Right? It was all the underlying traits that you want from a modern day right-handed pitcher, right? It was the ability to dominate righties while proving capable against lefties. And it was the fact that he was able to limit damage, right? Missing bats, avoiding barrels, racking up strikeouts. 2023, he was unable to do all that. He sat 26th percentile in whiff rate, 36th percentile in K rate, 54th percentile in barrel percentage. His expected slugging and his expected batting average numbers were also below average. He gave up 41 doubles in 2023, 24 home runs, in a 4.51 slug in 2023. Those are really, really, really bad underlying numbers to have for a starting pitcher. 2024, he figured that out for a little bit. His whiff rate was in the 79th percentile, meaning he was better than almost 80% of the league. His K rate, 74th percentile. Barrel, 81st percentile. Big jump. Big jumps all around. His expected slugging, expected batting average were above average. Only allowed 11 doubles, 8 home runs, and a 356 slugging percentage. So, short sample, 85 innings, but there's too much movement and there's too much spin on the 4 pitches that Clarke Schmidt throws to not expect more of that if he's healthy. You know, and there's everything he throws moves. I've said it before. Everything he throws spins well and it moves well. But it's all about efficiency. You know, going deeper into games. The third time around the order has been a problem for him. Third time through, it limits the amount of innings he can he can go. It limits the innings per start, right? I mean, part of that is just it's finishing batters off. Last year he did a better job of that, but still he'll have issues sometimes with 2 strikes, which will limit how long he can go into games. And that's why I want to see him lean into the curveball more, elevate the cutter, to get those swings and misses with 2 strikes. Last year, he averaged 4.1 pitches per plate appearances. That's worse than average. The MLB average usually sits around 3.8, 3.9. He averaged 17 pitches per inning. Not sure what the MLB average is on that, but I'm sure it's around 15, probably. Maybe a little more. So you just want to see him be more efficient because third time through has always been a problem for Clarke. Last year, first time through, he held batters to a 610 OPS. Second time through, he held batters to a 630 OPS. Third time through, it skyrocketed to a 937 OPS. It's the same trend over the course of his entire career. 676 OPS first time through. That jumps to 748 second time through. 923 third time through. He gets hammered when batters see him the third time. Why? It's a combination of a lot of things. I don't, he obviously doesn't throw super hard, so he loses even more velocity as the game progresses. But also batters start to predict more of what Clarke Schmidt's going to throw. And I think that's because he has a pretty deep mix, but it's because all the pitches he throws go in the same direction. Right? Cutter, curveball, sweeper, they all go in the same direction. His sinker is more of a traditional sinker, so it's not like it tails arm side. It's not a 2-seamer, traditionally. So I think the fact that all of his pitches go left, that's kind of been a big reason that he gets hit the third time through. And I think a key for him is going to be pitch mix and elevating and changing eye levels, especially to left-handed hitters who he's never really had success against because he hasn't had a put-away pitch to face lefties with. And lefties have been a problem Clarke Schmidt's entire career. He has not been able to neutralize left-handed batters. In his career, he holds righties to a 648 OPS across 695 plate appearances, but lefties have an 822 OPS against them in 659 plate appearances. Now, he figured some of that out last season. Righties, 645 OPS against him in 169 plate appearances. And lefties, a 689 OPS last year, 184 plate appearances. So he was way more balanced than he was last year. The curveball, his curve is his best weapon. Whether you want to look at the results it gets or just watching him, the eye test. It's got great drop. It's a pitch that has exceptional horizontal break. I mean, that pitch will go from the right edge of the plate to the very tip of the left-handed batter's box. Like, it can move far. So almost to a fact that he has to aim it at a right-handed batter, or he has to aim it in the right-handed batter's box just to get it to go into a lefty. It's his curveball is a great pitch with exceptional horizontal break. And he gets consistently good results on the curveball, whether he's facing a righty or a lefty year to year. However, it's only the 4th most used pitch. He doesn't use it as much as you'd expect. So I would like to see him lean into the curveball more. And I feel like that could help him neutralize lefties and go deeper into games. And the other 3 pitches that he throws, sweeper, cutter, sinker, throughout his career, he struggled to get outs against left-handed batters with those 3 pitches. Now, all 3 of those pitches, grade out as above average. They all have excellent spin, just like the curveball. But the cutter and sinker are the two pitches that made big-time improvements versus lefties last year. The cutter and sinker, unlike the sweeper, have decent break on them too. And I think the fact that Clarke Schmidt has now embraced the cutter as his number one pitch as a starting pitcher, I think that's a good thing. The fact that he's going to be able to go to that pitch kind of like Corbin Burns does as the primary. He doesn't throw a four-seam fastball. He likes to go to the cutter, top of the zone. It's got some carry, a little bit of break to it going into lefties. So play that cutter, and then you play the breaking ball off the cutter on the edges of the zone. And I think that's how Clarke Schmidt's going to be able to get lefties out. He has to consistently play it that way. He's not a guy who relies on chase. He doesn't get a lot of guys to swing and miss outside the zone. He's never been that type of guy. But what he did a lot better last year was generate swings and misses inside the zone. And that's going to be important for Clarke Schmidt. Cutter upstairs, breaking ball down low. That's got to be the recipe to success for Clarke. So that's really that's his whole flaw is just going deep into games because he struggled against lefties, because he doesn't always mix up his pitches the way I feel he can. And again, I think he's got the arsenal, to where he can continue getting swing and miss. I think that's going to stick from last year. So I think the potential is there for Clarke. I think the upside's there, but he obviously needs to stay healthy. He needs to stay healthy, and he needs to show that the swing and miss stuff from 2024 will translate to 2025. So if he harnesses his stuff a little bit, if he mixes in the curve more, if he sequences his pitches better, I think you'll see that if he's healthy. Because he's an important part to this team now. I mean, the Yankees are relying on Clarke Schmidt a whole lot to stay on the mound. Max Fried, Max Fried's going to be an ace. He's been an ace for the last 5 years, whatever. He's had really good seasons. The resume's there. I have confidence in someone like Max Fried. You're going to get an ace-type performance from him this year. Carlos Rodon, very unpredictable. We've spoken about him a lot lately here. Extremely unpredictable. You don't know. He could go out there and be an ace like he was with San Fran, but he could go out there and shit the bed, or he can go out there and be, average to above average like he was last year. You don't know what you're getting from Rodon. He's only getting older. Stroman, you kind of know what you're getting from Stroman. You're getting a mediocre number 5 at best. And then now enter Cookie Carrasco, where if Stroman was mediocre, Cookie's not even a big league arm anymore. And now it's Will Warren, right? If Clarke Schmidt's not in the rotation, it's Fried, Rodon, Stroman, Carrasco, Warren, who's potent. I like the upside. I like his stuff. But he's also unpredictable as a prospect. The guy got lit up last year. The kid might not be ready. So it's kind of embarrassing for the Yankees. The Carrasco stuff kind of bothers me. It's a little outrageous that Carlos Carrasco's a starting pitcher for this team. I know the whole opt-out thing, you don't want to lose him, so they have to kind of use him. I get that whole thing. But Carlos Carrasco and his 5.02 ERA in the last 6 seasons, and his 6.18 ERA the last 2 seasons, and his fastball with no bite, no spin, no velo, no movement, and his flat changeup should not be starting games for the Yankees in 2025 for too long. Pray and hope that Schmidt's okay, because this cheap organization who act like a small market organization decided that Carlos Carrasco was the best depth signing they could make in a market that had Kyle Gibson, You don't want to pay him 10, 12 million. Okay. Use Jose Quintana as your depth arm. He only makes what is he making? 4 million? Whoever signed him. He was available then. I don't know. I'm just like, there were actual legitimate, helpful major league arms out there who could eat some innings until Warren was ready and still be average major league pitchers. But they decided to sign a guy who, let's be honest, he's no more washed than LeMahieu is. He's no less washed, no more washed than LeMahieu is. And let's use him because he pitched 14 innings in spring training to impress the normies. Like, I joked on my Instagram this morning, Greg Bird had a 914 OPS in spring. And we're hyping up Carlos Carrasco's spring, a 38-year-old starting pitcher. You know what you're getting from a 38-year-old starting pitcher. You don't need a spring training to fool you into thinking he's magically going to find it. Happy birthday, by the way, Carlos, tomorrow. But he's coming off back-to-back 5+ ERA seasons. He's 38 years old tomorrow. He's got lackluster movement on all of his pitches now. He's not suddenly going to turn back the clock because he looked cute in spring training. So I am praying like a Christian on a Sunday that Clarke Schmidt is healthy. Because I don't want that guy to be a consistent part of the rotation. Help you for a month, anybody can do that, sure. Clarke Schmidt's got to be healthy. He is super important to this staff. I want to add one thing, just an idea that popped in my head. Talk about Luis Gil for a second when we return from break here on the show. It's not going to take too long, but I do want to bring up something regarding Luis Gil. It's an idea that hatched in my mind. Stay with us. We'll be back in a minute, and I want to bring that up. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. If you feel like supporting the podcast, you can Venmo at Robert-Carbone-JR-28. We really appreciate your support. Do you enjoy Yankees baseball but are tired of hearing me yap? I have a suggestion for you. Go check out Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg Gil is a Yankees podcaster on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and he's now selling merch. Go to yankeecrazy.myshopify.com. Stay connected with us. Visit bd4blog.com to explore our blog, tune into our latest podcasts, and follow us on social media. Thank you for being a part of this community. All right, so this could very well be a stupid opinion. It's probably a stupid opinion, but I'm going to share it anyway because it came across my mind And it's been a thing Yankees fans have been thinking about before, but obviously they're not thinking about it right now with the rotation being as depleted as it is. But I was thinking about it, not going to lie. And maybe this is more of a realistic idea if the Yankee rotation is healthy by then. With Luis Gil, guy who throws 98, 97, injuries, he's already hurt. He's got command issues as it is. He's got control issues as it is. You do worry about guys who throw so hard long term. I was just thinking, when he does return, if he does return, say it all goes well and he's back 3 months, whatever it is, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to keep him in the bullpen. I feel like that would keep him healthy. I personally have had ups and downs regarding my opinion on Gil as a starting pitcher. I was never fully sold on the idea. If you bring him back, say he comes back July, best case, you have him come out of the bullpen and you make a move. You try and trade, Jones and Lombard, or maybe Dominguez is in a package deal. One or two of those guys for a top frontline ace like an Alcantara or like a Dylan Cease or whoever's going to be available. If you could do something like that, I feel like you could afford to keep Luis Gil in the bullpen for the second half of the season. I feel like his velocity and his stuff will play up in the pen. He could dominate. Imagine Gil to Weaver to Warren, Gil to Weaver to Williams. In the postseason, you don't need a full rotation. You only need 2-3 good starters, and then you go to your bullpen anyway. So if you get to August, it's only 2 months remaining, and Gil gets healthy, and Fried's still out there, and Rodon's still out there, and Schmidt's healthy, and Warren or Stroman or Carrasco, God forbid, still on the roster. I think you can afford something like that. It was just a thought I had. Maybe moving Luis Gil to the bullpen could help this team. That would be a ridiculous. You talk about, we've talked about here on the show how one of my concerns of the bullpen is not having enough velocity in there. That fixes that. And I really do think Luis Gil can throw 98 longer in the bullpen, as opposed to, he does start to fade a little, goes back down to 96, 95 once he gets into that 6th inning, 5th inning. Keep him in the bullpen. He'll be fresh. He'll throw 98 consistently for 1 or 2 innings. Listen, the walk issues are always going to be the walk issues. It's not going to change. I think it's an idea worth thinking about to keep the kid healthy. But this is where we are. Clarke Schmidt really depicts all of this. His health depicts all of it. If he's healthy, I really do think he can give you what he gave you last year across the full season, where he's going to miss bats. He's not going to give up the hard contact. I think his stuff is good enough to yield better peripherals than it did in his first 4 seasons. I think he'll be closer to what he was last year as long as he stays on the mound. That's the key to all of this. So with that all said, folks, appreciate you all tuning in as always. That's it for this episode. We went about 30 minutes in. Episode 828 here at BD4. The Yanks need a healthy Clarke Schmidt. Again, we wrote about this recently. Didn't go into depth as much in this article, but definitely check it out. It was a good one. BD4blog.com. We've been writing a lot on the Yankees there recently. A lot of individual stuff about individual players and storylines. So definitely check that out. But I appreciate you all tuning into this episode as always. Thank you for listening. Maybe you're watching somewhere on YouTube, Spotify. Very much appreciate it, and I'll see you soon. Later. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast, and I will see you in the next episode of BD4.